Hey, I'm Cass with MediaUnlocked.net. I'm here today to go over the Nikon D5100 camera body and settings and functions for you so that you can skip reading your manual and just watch video. So we're going to go through as if you know absolutely nothing and start with the basics of the camera. It's a pretty nice little entry-level DSLR. You can get some really great shots with it. So hopefully this video can help you out in navigating your new or old camera. So just to start off with things, lens removal and placement is pretty simple. You have a lens removal button right here in the front and you twist your lens. If you're familiar with Canons, Nikon's twist the opposite way from Canons. So you twist it, it comes off, you're good. There's a little white button, a little white guy here, a little white one here. You line those up to place the lens, and then you twist it towards the shutter button, counterclockwise if you're looking at your camera, and it goes ahead and clicks into place. So then you're good to go with your lens, and you can go ahead and make sure you have your SD card placed correctly. This guy is very simple to open. Your SD card goes in just like any other camera. Your sensors face the lens. Pop that in there and you're good to go. You also need a battery or you're not going to be able to turn your camera on. So the battery guy has an arrow. You pop it towards the arrow and it has an additional little arrow guy that if you go ahead and pop that way, the battery just pops right out. And if you use the battery to pop the arrow over when you put it back in, that'll be good to go and you're locked and loaded and ready. So that's kind of the basics to get you started, besides turning the camera on, which is right there. It's right connected to the shutter button, so you're good to go. So that's your basics, and we're just going to go through and look at all of the buttons and all of the dials and all of the little switches throughout the whole body, and I'll start with the top of the camera, and we'll go through all of that. So we already talked about the on-off switch. It's right there. It's connected to the shutter button, which works just like any other shutter button on a point and shoot, where you halfway click to focus and all the way click to take a picture, and you're good to go. Behind the on-off and shutter button, you have three different little buttons, and they do very important things. So you have a record button, which only the D5100 you record when you're in live view mode. So you'll need to use your live view mode toggle. It's not really a button, it's like a little switch guy that gets you in and out of live view. You just pull it back towards you and you go in and out of live view right there. So then you can hit the record button and start your video. Next to that is your info button, which when you hit it, you get into all your camera settings and information for the shots you're taking, which is really helpful and quick to check everything, make sure it's what you want it to be. The third button there does two really important functions. If you're in any mode besides manual, it's your exposure compensation button. So you can adjust your exposure up and down really easily. You just hit it and then rotate your toggle and it'll go ahead and adjust your exposure for you. Additionally, when you're in manual, it is how you set your aperture. So there's only one dial on this camera. So you have to hit the button and hold it down when you're in manual and it will adjust your aperture for you. It's one of the things that's annoyingly hard to find if you don't know where it is on a Nikon camera sometimes. So that's where that lives. And but like I said, that's only in manual mode that it does the aperture. So then you come back to our mode dial that allows you to go to your different shooting modes. And that's where your live view switch is connected as well. It goes in and out, easy peasy. And then your mode, we'll go through all these settings separately and really talk about what they do and all of that a little bit later. But that's your mode dial, if I mention that later. Up here is just your accessory shoe for your flash or your whatever accessory you might be using for external flashes. And your on-camera flash, there's a button right here that pops that up if you're in manual mode and you want to use your flash for something. That button also does flash compensation. If you want it to, once it's up, you can go into flash compensation with that button really easily. And then over here you have a mic. That's your mic for playback. And you also have your focal plane indicator. It's a very, very small little guy, but it's very helpful if you're not able to see your focus. So that's where your focal plane indicator happens to be located on this camera. If we come to the front of the camera, we already talked about our flash button that pops the flash up and also does flash compensation. Underneath that is a function button, which you can set a custom function to in this camera, or it's also already set to be your self timer button, and allows you to get to your self timer really quick, really easy, and you can adjust your self timer settings more in menu, but that just allows you quick and easy access to it. Underneath that, we already talked about the lens button, and then on this side we have this is your autofocus assistance illuminator. It like sends out light when you're trying to autofocus and there's not enough. It also is a red eye reduction, so if you have your flash open and you have red eye reduction on, it'll light up and help with red eye. And it also, when you're doing your quick timer or your self timer, it like blinks at you until it's about to go off, and then it stops blinking. So it's just kind of like a visual indicator that your self timer is about to go off. Down here is like an infrared sensor, so if you're using infrared triggers of any kind and that's covered up and they're not working, that's probably why. It's just this little weird little spot that is easy to miss. So that's kind of the top and the front of your camera. If we scoot to the side, then you have your accessory port. You just have a little rubber thing that protects it and is connected to the camera that you can pull over. And it has a number of different accessory ports that you can use. A mic jack for your external mics, an HDMI mini jack, an AV in and out, which is a USB miniature cable, so you can hook up whatever you need to there. And then also a GPS and other accessories jack, because this camera has GPS capabilities. So that's your accessory port. On the other side was all there is the SD card. Hey guys, thanks for watching the Nikon D5100 videos. Please check us out on Facebook on the links below in the description. You can check out David D Images, the Media Unlocked Facebook, and my studio's Facebook at Spotlight Photo. Have a good one. Bye.